Achieve optimal scintillation at the Seattle International Film Festival, May 7th through 17th. With 203 films from over 70 countries, the festival will immerse you in a cinematic experience unlike anywhere else. Discover independent and international films, in person, in the heart of Seattle. There's something for everyone, so join the community and start experimenting. Additional information and tickets on sale now at sif.net/festival. This is CityCast Seattle. I'm Jane C. Hu, and here's what Seattle's talking about. Today, we've got a guest that needs no introduction, Mayor Katie Wilson. Welcome to the show, Mayor Wilson.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So we at CityCast Seattle launched on Election Day, the one where you were ultimately elected. And in that time, I've built up a lot of questions that I've wanted to ask you. But as I've seen you get elected and take office, I imagine it's been a big change in how you relate to the city. As many people likely already know, before running for mayor, you founded the Transit Riders Union. What has it been like to transition from being an organizer to being a mayor? Like, how would you describe the change in your role within the city in terms of how you relate to local businesses or government and even former fellow organizers?
Yeah, great question. So we're about 4 months in, and so it's definitely been a shift, and there are some things about it that I was expecting and other things not as much. I mean, one piece of it, and this is not really any different than the campaign last year, but is maybe even heightened more, is just the sense of anything you say is going to be very, very scrutinized and can be very easily, clipped, taken out of context, blasted around right-wing media all over the world, right? So there's definitely that aspect of being in this position that's a little bit different, right? As an organizer previously, right, like you maybe don't have to watch what you say quite as much.
The perils of living in 2026, for sure.
Oh, yeah. And I guess the other thing I'll say is that as the mayor and kind of the representative of the city in a certain sense, right? I and my office and the city departments, right? We have multidimensional relationships with all kinds of stakeholders in the city, right? From business to labor to community organizations. And that means that there's just more, there's more of a need to have some kind of relationship where you're able to work together, even if you don't always agree on things. And that is kind of the baseline that I've been trying to establish with everyone, right? And for me, as someone coming from the left, and, having come through a campaign where many large business interests spent a lot of money trying to prevent me from getting elected, right? That has meant reaching out and trying to establish relationships there. Again, not that we're always going to agree on everything, and really precisely because we're not going to, right? Important to make sure that we're able to work together on things where we need to work together and where the city needs to be responsive, so that we can kind of weather those storms when they come. And that's, just a different kind of stance. Whereas like as an organizer, you're maybe picking your issue and you just like go full on and say all the mean things you want to about whoever's fighting you on the other side.
Speaking of picking your issues and then people saying mean things, it was no surprise to me, given your background, that transportation's been a core issue for you. And a couple weeks ago, you announced that Denny Way would be getting bus lanes, and the response has definitely been interesting. So for our listeners who have not seen the recent Daily Mail headline, it said, "Fury as white female Mamdani mayor who has never owned a car takes away lane of road from motorists to stop the Route 8 bus she rides from being late." Personally, I preferred the Needling headline, which said white female Mamdani mayor of Seattle caught blowing taxpayer money on personal limousine. But I digress. You made a video about this, though, saying that, I guess this is supposed to be a scandal and that this is not about pitting buses against cars. We shouldn't think about bus lanes as something that takes away from drivers. So as we've been talking about, as mayor, I know you see your fair share of criticism, but not all criticism ends up getting a direct response from you. What made you decide to respond to this particular criticism?
Yeah, I mean, I think for one thing, I feel that on this issue, at least the sense that I have, is that the response from Seattle residents is really overwhelmingly positive. I think there's a wide recognition in Seattle that we need to make our transit system work, right? Seattle voters have consistently, overwhelmingly supported funding transit. And I think we all know that when we're putting our public funding into something, we want to make sure that it works well. And when you have a bus stuck in traffic for half an hour, right, that's not great, right? And so I actually think that I think the response has been really positive, but then certain parts of the media have certainly spun it as a big controversy and scandal. I think more controversy than actually really exists. And I think I just felt there was an opportunity to say some useful things about the way that we're trying to shift our transportation system, that we're kind of getting lost in that kind of frenzied media debate, and really just like making the point that making it possible for more people to choose transit in a growing city where we have finite space, finite road space, right, is actually good for everyone. And that doesn't mean that there aren't kind of winners and losers along the way, but big picture, making this shift is going to be good for the whole city and for everyone who is trying to get around in it. It's funny because I, especially as an organizer, right, I think of coming into office and being able to really speak from personal experience as a transit rider, as a renter, right, as someone who has some of the lived experiences that I think people across our city who are struggling with the affordability crisis, right, I think of that as a positive thing. So when I stood at that press conference and said, "This is one of my buses," right, it just didn't occur to me that that was going to become like, oh, corruption, right? She just wants to speed up her own bus.
This is just because she doesn't want to be late to work, right?
Yeah.
In other transportation-related news, you're also re-expanding Lake Washington Boulevard bike weekends. Are you a cyclist, Katie?
Yeah. So actually, up until the time when my daughter was born in 2023, bicycle was my main form of transportation, has been the whole time that I've been an adult. I just think it's a great way to get around. It's often the fastest way to get around a city. And I just love being able to get a little exercise, getting that fresh air, just that sense of being outside in the city that you get cycling for transportation. So yeah, very much so. Although since my daughter was born, really have not spent very much time on a bike, unfortunately. So maybe that can change soon. Maybe that will change on a bicycle weekend coming up.
Yeah. Okay, so why did the dates for those bike weekends shrink in the first place? And why bring it back?
I don't want to speak to the long history of kind of back and forth around bicycle weekends and the dates. I'll just say that I think it's really exciting and important to have it be consistent. Every weekend, something that people can expect, can rely on. And I just think that that is what is going to make it something that people come back to again and again and use, right? You don't have to look it up on some calendar and then you get the weekend wrong and you come and it's not actually there, right? I think that consistency and that predictability is actually really important when we're planning anything like this as the city. And so I'm really excited about that. And just, that's just that park, because it is a park. It's actually technically a park, is such an amazing public asset. And to make it possible for people around the city to come and enjoy the water and the views and the ability to walk or stroll or bike, because we call it bicycle weekends, but it's not just about bicycles, right? To be able to come with your kids and have them run around and not have to be afraid of getting hit by a car, right? I think that's just such an important thing, and I'm just really excited for all the excitement that I'm hearing about it.
Yeah, I really love that I am not going to have to look it up. Literally the week before you made the announcement that it was going to be open, I think basically every weekend besides Seafair, I had taken a picture of what the dates had first been announced as, or, had been put on a sign on Lake Washington Boulevard, just so that I could reference it later. But then I was like, oh, I don't even need this anymore. Let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk about the mayor's decision-making process. Are you thinking about Napa or Sonoma for your next wine trip? If so, you might be overthinking it. Dundee, Oregon is right in the heart of the Willamette Valley, and it delivers all of the charm, wine, and food that you're looking for with just a short drive south. It's 30 miles outside of Portland. And I love a walkable town, and Dundee is super cute. Every third Thursday, they've got art on display with live music, food trucks, and wine tasting specials. Go for the great wine, stay and enjoy the laid-back vibes. Travel Dundee is offering spring discounts for CityCast listeners. Visit traveldundee.com/CityCast to unlock exclusive lodging promo codes for your next stay. Again, that's traveldundee.com/CityCast.
Hey Seattle, if you've ever wanted to see our Pacific Northwest whales, this is your moment. FRS Clipper Whale Watching is the only whale and wildlife tour departing from right in downtown Seattle. And this year, for their 40th anniversary, they're launching a brand new catamaran, the Emerald Clipper. It was built right here in Washington State, and it's designed for comfort and incredible views with spacious outdoor decks, floor-to-ceiling windows, and onboard naturalists who help you actually understand what you're seeing aboard this floating classroom. Out on the Salish Sea, you might encounter humpbacks feeding, killer whales hunting, gray whales cruising, plus bald eagles and seals and sea lions. It's not just a tour, it's a full wildlife experience. And they have a whale sighting guarantee, so if you don't see whales, you'll get a complimentary tour to use in the future. Spots fill quickly as the season ramps up, so don't wait. In fact, Sam and I have already booked our trip, and we cannot wait. You can book early too. Just go to whalewatching.com. That's whalewatching.com.
So, in these first few months as mayor, you've hit pause on a lot of projects, some of which were things that Bruce Harrell put into motion. So, our city's surveillance camera pilot, our city's government's use of AI, sweeping a Ballard encampment. But after each of those pauses, in most cases, it seems like you've still decided to move forward with some form of those plans. So I'm curious to know a little bit about your decision-making process. How would you characterize how you make these decisions and what's happening behind the scenes during those pauses? Like, what information are you trying to seek out to make your decision?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is really me and my team coming in and you come in as a new elected official and the city doesn't stop for you, right? Like, it's not like everyone's like, okay, well, we'll just pause everything for a little while you find your feet. So you're kind of jumping on the train as it's going. And then you find that it might not be going somewhere that you think it should go. And so you're trying to figure out how to shift things, right? And so in our case, there were several issues, as you mentioned, where I really felt the need to do some due diligence and kind of examine the way that the city was moving forward, and that meant a pause. And I mean, each case is really different. And you mentioned AI, so we paused the rollout internally of Microsoft Copilot chat, but we actually have moved forward with that as of Monday. But at the same time, what we did in the meantime was really develop a much better thought out kind of framework around the city's use of AI and how we're going to approach AI policy moving forward, and did a lot of more just internal work, like figured out, there are people all over the city in various ways working on AI, but not necessarily talking to each other. So we're doing a lot of internal work to make sure that we're doing this with the right safeguards, guardrails in place, but then you're like, well, why are we moving forward? Why not just like stop it or pause permanently? Well, in the case of AI, like, people are using these tools, right? And like, there's not, I don't think there's a scenario where we just stop it. And also, I think there's some really, there's real value there, right? And so we're just trying to figure out, how do we as a city move forward responsibly and do this in a way that is consistent with the public interest. So that's kind of that decision-making process. And then, surveillance, I think there's other places where people can get some of my thoughts about what we're doing, but, we're in the middle now of doing this audit of data security, storage, sharing practices, and then there's evaluation going on of this pilot. So really, like, moving forward, I want to get a much clearer sense of the legitimate place of surveillance technology in our larger public safety system. What are the limits of that? How can we make sure that we are have as good as possible protections in place. And then moving forward, I mean, the other thing to point out there is just like surveillance should be a very small, modest part of public safety. And so I also just don't want to get too hung up on that because there's so much else that we need to do to keep people safe and to really prevent some of the things that make people feel unsafe in the first place. So it's really just me wanting to like do that evaluation. What was the third issue that you mentioned?
The Ballard encampment.
Oh, right. Yeah. And similarly, right. And we're not just pausing things, we're accelerating things. We're accelerating shelter and housing, right? So we're not just slowing everything down. We're trying to slow down the things we have real concerns and questions about, and we're trying to push forward on the things that we know we need to go faster on. And of course, in the case of sweeps and shelter, there's a connection there where we need to accelerate shelter so that we can actually be moving people inside as opposed to just moving them around. So, and I mean, I would say I would add data centers to the list. And there's one where, we and the council are aligned on a moratorium. And right. I'm not sure there is a place for huge data centers in an urban area like Seattle, but we're going to do some more work and have that conversation. But for the time being, we have a 1-year moratorium in place.
So how do you define public interest, or how do you determine what the public interest is? I mean, in the case of surveillance, we've seen a range of opinions, and I know that there have been a lot of people that have been very vocal about those opinions, but how do you weigh all of that feedback?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's complicated, and I mean, I think at a basic level, I think what we're talking about in a city like Seattle, when we talk about public interest, I would say is kind of the quality of life of the people who live here, right? And then that's obviously complicated by the fact that you have big inequities along many different lines, right, of race and of income and all the rest, right? That people are not starting from the same place. And so I think in a case like on an issue like surveillance, right, it's further complicated by the fact that you're trying to weigh kind of, in some cases, real present impacts against risks. And all of that is hard to quantify. And so this is one of the reasons why we're doing these, the audit and the evaluation, is to try to get a better sense of what those impacts and risks are, right? So on the one hand, you have the utility of camera footage in solving and in some cases responding in real time to crime. And that is a benefit. There are also some risks there, and that can be done poorly or misused, right? And then you have risks of, for example, federal immigration enforcement misusing, or other actors, right, misusing, accessing and misusing that footage, right? So that is all difficult to quantify, and it's maybe more of an art than a science. So we're doing these evaluations, and then I will be, while getting more public input, right, making some kind of decision about how we move forward, and that will obviously involve the council as well.
What would you say to your critics who want you to move faster or more decisively?
On that particular issue, or in general?
In general, but I do think that surveillance has been one where I think I've seen the most pushback, where folks are really have been vocal about wanting a quick response.
Yeah. I don't know. I would just say that I think it's a legitimately complicated issue with some real just real things weighing on both sides, like real impacts, real just people who have legitimate viewpoints and feelings, and I just think it deserves that attention. I don't think there's an easy answer on this one. But there are other things like, let's paint bus lanes on Denny, where like, let's just do it. Let's move forward quick.
So we just talked about how, it's been kind of a shift for you as mayor and people hanging on your every word. I'm sure your relationship to just being in the city has also changed a little bit.
Just a bit.
What are your neighborhood go-tos? Like, can you still hit up your, go-to coffee shop in the same way?
I mean, not in the same way. I do have a security detail that comes with me places now.
Oh, fun.
So that's definitely a big change. I mean, I would say there was kind of a gradual shift last year during the campaign and now extended now that I'm in office of just, yeah, I mean, people recognize me when I'm walking around the city, right? So it's not, I don't have the like anonymity that I once did. And yeah, I mean, I miss that a little bit sometimes. It's actually like I was at the dentist the other day and the like hygienist and the dentist, like maybe they didn't live in Seattle, but like I think they didn't recognize me, and it was awesome. I was just like, yeah, I'm just here getting my teeth cleaned. Like, I'm just anyone. It's fine. But anyway, yeah, and I mean, mostly it's like it's a little bit much sometimes, but it's also really nice, right? Like people come up to me and they, tell me about the issues they care about, or they want to get a selfie taken, or whatever. And I'm actually enjoying that maybe more than I would have expected, because I'm definitely not like a huge extrovert, like person who likes to be out in public all the time. But it is really fun just meeting people and hearing so many different perspectives, and hearing where people move from and how much they love living here, and obviously what they think the problems are that I should be fixing. But mostly the interactions are very positive, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm imagining that being mayor in like 1926 would have been very different from being mayor in 2026, where almost all of your interaction would have to be in person, right? Like, I guess people could send you like long-winded letters about their thoughts.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they did.
Well, Mayor Katie Wilson, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
When we come back, we'll be talking about our weekend recs. If you're in Washington and you haven't tried King Harvest hummus yet, you're missing out on a locally made favorite. Since 1977, King Harvest Hummus has been making their small batch, fresh hummus in Portland, Oregon. It's not like an average hummus. It's a thicker texture combined with bold flavors, and it creates raving fans after tasting it. Not surprising, since it's made local and fresh on the shelf. Some of our favorite flavors are roasted red pepper, jalapeno, sun-dried tomato, and of course, the classic. You can eat this healthy dip with chips, veggies, or add it to a sandwich or wrap. Or maybe you just want to eat it with a spoon. Most people buy more than one because once it's open, this healthy dip disappears fast. You've got to try it to love it. Don't miss out on expanding your snack experience with this locally made fresh dip. King Harvest Hummus. Simple, better, one dip at a time. You can find King Harvest in the refrigerated section at your local grocery store. It is Friday again, which means it is time for our weekend recs. Joining me to give their recs, our Prince of Social Media, Ben Keenan, man about town. Welcome, Ben.
Hello, hello.
And we have creative producer Sam J. Leeds. Welcome, Sam.
Hi. Glad to be here.
All right, first off, what brought you all joy this week?
So I know the rest of the team is really tired of hearing this, but I actually just got back from a trip to Rome. So
I'm rolling my eyes
teasing Ben so
hard.
much. All because we've been jealous.
We're so jealous.
Yeah. Well, Sam doesn't get to be jealous for long.
It's true. I will be also soon off of the pod for a couple of weeks to go on vacation to Italy, but I will not be flying business class, Ben. So.
Yes, that did
in a
bring me
lay-down
joy.
seat?
In
Yes.
a lie flat seat. Yeah, that did bring me an immense amount of joy. Plus all the gelato. Like, we have some gelato spots here in Seattle, but they are just, there's nothing the same as like a gelato or a pasta or something on the ground where it was created, much like drinking a Guinness in Dublin, where they say, if you don't like Guinness here, try it in Ireland. It's going to be a completely different experience.
What about you, Sam? What brought you joy?
Well, it's not quite as, worldly, but on Monday night, I went to Golden Gardens with probably half of Seattle. I mean, that beach was packed. And around sunset, the sea lions, which seem to have taken over Seattle's docks recently. That's what they sound like. Yeah. They made a mass exodus from like the dock that they were on across the water. And it was so cute to watch them do their little like swim across. They were like playing with each other. They kept like sticking their little flippers in the air. That plus the sunset plus all the sailboats that were out. It was just, Seattle doing its magical thing when the sun comes out. It was really, really nice.
It's a vibe. Yeah, I was out there last week and it was so lovely. All right, what are you all doing this weekend?
I am going to the opera. at the Seattle Opera.
Ooh,
Yeah.
fancy, man.
Yeah, I'm going to go see Carmen, which is,
Wow, comes back from Italy, goes to opera.
I'm going to see Carmen.
In all fairness, I did go see Fellow Travelers. It was my first like US opera. And it really got me hooked when I heard Carmen was coming. I was like, that's kind of like quintessentially like one of the most like well-known operas. And so when I found out it was coming, I was like, you know what? That is a really fun like cultural experience that a lot of people here don't take advantage of. So I will be going to see that with one of my friends. And I actually looked it up. They have a family day ticket as well. So if anybody in Seattle is looking to do something this weekend that's a little bit culturally different, on Sunday, May 10th, at 2 p.m. is the show. So kids, you know, are going to be awake still and not too hangry and have to do homework. $25 youth tickets. So if you've been looking for an excuse to get your kids into more culturally specific activities, go see Carmen.
The children will like opera.
The children yearn for opera.
There aren't that many U.S. cities that have an active opera.
Yeah.
And let's keep that going, you guys. Go
Absolutely.
see
And
the
I think
opera.
most of the, if not the performers themselves, most of the band is Seattle based.
Cool.
Like symphony adjacent.
What are you up to, Sam?
Well, I will not be in town, but if I was, the West Seattle garage sale is happening this weekend. Mostly on Saturday. There are some garage sales that extend Friday and Sunday, but there are 650 different garage sales happening throughout West Seattle.
Some treasures in there.
Oh, yeah. The West Seattle blog does like an amazing job of kind of organizing all of the information on this. They have a full map with like little pins that you can chart out like what are the places you want to go. And they've been creating sort of mini lists of like, here are themed garage sales that are happening.
Oh.
So one of them that I thought was really cool was there's going to be a combination of vinyl sales happening, musical instruments, and quirky music related items like vintage rock tees and things like that.
Nice.
Kenyon Hall is hosting a vinyl swap and spin. So vinyl sellers and collectors from Greater Seattle are all going to be hanging out selling vinyl, and there'll also be a live DJ, and they're collecting food items for the West Seattle Food Bank. So if you're into vinyl, it's probably a good place to find some really cool, rare records. And if you can't make it to the opera, maybe you can find some opera on vinyl. Jane, what are you getting up to?
On Friday, and I believe he's also playing Saturday, the comedian Jabuki Young White is doing some sets at Laughs Comedy Club. I don't know how to describe Jabuki's comedy. Like, he was a correspondent on The Daily Show for a little bit, but I feel like what I know him for is basically trolling people online, which sounds bad, but like, I think his most iconic thing is he had a blue check on Twitter back when you couldn't buy one. And he would constantly change his display name to look like other people. Like, for a while, he was tweeting as if he were the FBI. And it was just really good. So I'm really curious. I've never seen him do stand-up. I imagine he's very funny. I am excited to hear his jokes. I also am thinking about stopping by Bonsai Fest, which is at the Pacific Bonsai Museum this weekend. It's Saturday and Sunday, and they're going to have this whole like family-friendly event where they have bonsai making demonstrations and guided tours, food trucks. I'm just excited about the possibility of learning how to actually do bonsai, because I have been gifted a bonsai tree before and then admittedly did not take very good care of it because I didn't know what to do. So I'm like,
there's an art to it.
There really is. Like, what I love about it is it seems like, obviously there's like a very kind of established way of taking care of things, but also a lot of it is just aesthetics. Like, you have to think about the health of the plant, but also you're like, what looks nice? What looks like a miniature tree?
Yeah, without hurting the plant, just helping it grow. I love watching the people with, I don't know if you've ever seen these YouTube videos with like the tiny little scissors, just trimming the bonsai. I was like, it's so peaceful.
That does seem very peaceful.
It's like raking sand, which I think, I'm not going to speak for all of us, but I do think most of us are a lot better at than pruning a bonsai.
Yeah, I think I can rake sand.
All right. Well, maybe I'll just rake sand this weekend. I feel like I need like a complete brain reset.
Right. I do feel like we would be remiss not to mention that it is also Mother's Day this weekend.
That's right. I'm also getting dim sum with my mom.
Oh, wow. That sounds amazing. Yeah. I know that this weekend can be kind of heavy for some folks who, have either parental loss or are not in contact with their families right now. And there is actually an amazing resource in Seattle called A Resting Place, which is a place for people to go and get to experience their grief with other people who are also grieving. And they are hosting a Mother's Day event on Saturday. It's a potluck and bouquet making event. There will also be like an altar, and people can leave either food offerings or photos of their loved ones. And I think for folks who often feel like they just sort of have to hold that grief alone this weekend, this could be a great event to go and get to be with other people and be in community with that. So I just wanted to mention that too.
I love that.
Really
I'm glad that we as a society are coming to more of an understanding about how these holidays can be challenging and complicated for people. I mean, not only people who have, lost a person, but also maybe who have a complicated relationship with that person.
Yep.
If there is an aunt or an older friend or a grandparent who may fill that void that you might not have, whether it be because of loss or because of estrangement from a mother, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but use this weekend to celebrate those that you feel a motherly connection to. Like, don't feel obligated that it's just because it has a title, that it's only for one type of person.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ben, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And Sam, thank you for giving your Rex.
Always happy to be here.
That's all for today here at CityCast Seattle, unless you are a CityCast Seattle neighbor, in which case stay tuned for our weekly bonus segment where we're going to be talking about Elle, the new Legally Blonde prequel that's going to be set in Seattle. So if you want to hear that, you can join us as a CityCast Seattle neighbor by going to membership.citycast.fm/Seattle. It's one of our fun perks of membership. I'm your host, Jane C. Hu. Our executive producer is Ashley Smith. Our creative producers are Sam J. Leeds and Liam Billingham. Post-production this week was done by PJ Shahamat. Our audience development manager is Ben Keenan. Music is by Aaron Taylor Waldman, All the Kimonos, and Los Mocachetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. Our ad music is by Sven Lindvall and Sarah, the instrumentalist, from Epidemic Sounds via Getty Images. And listeners, we always love hearing from you all. Send us your news tips, your questions, what you're doing this weekend or even next weekend, so we have it for our list, by sending an email to seattle@citycast.fm. You can also text us or leave us a voicemail at 206-880-3931. Until next week, see ya, Seattle. If you're enjoying the podcast, be sure to follow us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen so you never miss an episode. Also, leave us a little review. It's really helpful. And tell your friends about us. You can also get more local news and events delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter. Just go to seattle.citycast.fm. And you can find us on Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok at CityCast Seattle, and you can watch full episodes of this show on YouTube.